The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Hey everyone! Get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is the Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to the Angry Chicken. I'm Garrett, joined as always by Willie Dills and Jocelyn. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, doing excellent. Enjoying the new Hearthstone meta, and not finding any major problems yet because they fixed Snip Snap. Thank you.
Yeah, there was some weirdness yesterday apparently, but overall, my experience, which has almost entirely been today, has been great.
Yeah, I played a little last night, and first deck I jumped into was the Mech Paladin because I was like, I think this was already a pretty good deck, and it's probably even better now. And yep, it's good.
Turns out, Crystology, a card that was already good, is better when you make it better.
Yeah, and the Holy Wrath Paladin, by the way, I have seen people playing in the pro stuff, the whatchamacallit, the Grandmaster stuff. yeah, whatever.
The
that
pro
thing,
Hearthstone pro stuff.
We've been talking about forever. And now, I mean, just having it for 1 mana means the ability to like do something on turn 1 that instantly starts. Because I found playing it in the Mech Paladin, it's just like, oh, I have a turn 1 play now, which that deck really didn't have. Because like, yeah, you could drop like one of your 1-cost mechs on one, but you don't really want to do that because they're all the magnetic things, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's just like, oh, on turn 1, I just start setting myself up, and it's like something that the aggro decks have and the other mid-range decks didn't have is that turn 1 play. It's pretty sweet. Card is maybe broken, maybe.
It's isn't it going to be hilarious when they just revert the nerf, when they're like, it revert the buff, and they're like, and it's nerfed, and we're like, no, it's just the way it used to be.
Now, if they nerf the buff, would they give us a dust refund?
Yeah, I would assume.
They would.
That's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, because if you don't have it now, you're definitely, if you didn't have it before this buff, you're definitely crafting it after this buff, right? So you're spending the dust, which means you're spending the full dust. Or maybe you're just buying a bunch of packs. Whatever the case is, there's a good chance that if you didn't have Crystology already, you definitely have it now.
Sure, absolutely.
So
I'm thinking that maybe a lot of people are going to bring this Paladin deck now to the Taco, which I fixed, and you can definitely sign up for now.
That's
apparently, the deck submission deadline had not been changed, so it made it so that people couldn't sign up. So I had gotten a tweet about it, and somebody in the Discord notified me, and then Gary, you said something about it, and I thought I'd fixed it, but apparently it had not. Now it definitely works. I had somebody like log in, sign up. It's definitely working. So people can sign up now for the Taco. You'll find the Battlefy link on the Patreon page, patreon.com/TAC, and the actual tournament is on the 15th at 12 o'clock Central Time. Boom.
Rad, yeah. Which means because it was literally impossible to sign up, there's a lot of slots left. So
yes.
Head on over to the Angry Chicken Patreon. It is a public post for everyone. So patreon.com/TAC is a link right there. Doesn't matter if you're a patron or not. You can get in, sign up, and compete for cards. We're giving 15 card packs away to 6 players. First through 4th place all get a bundle of 15 card packs. Dills, you have a bounty on your head for 15 card packs, so if someone runs into you with your meme decks and beats you, which somehow didn't happen last time.
Yeah, I ended up having to randomly give that one away, but that was with Conquest. I feel like in Specialist, I can bring something really bad and definitely win.
All right, well, I want like one of your secondary or tertiary to at least be like super try hard for your weird meme deck, okay?
Okay, all right.
Don't just give it away.
I'm going to do something that's like shouldn't work, and then I'm going to try to play it as good as I can. You know what I mean? Like I'll take like a tier 4 thing, throw some more meme stuff into it, and then try my best. But
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of packs up for grabs. Also, we give 15 packs away randomly to just someone who didn't get in the top 4 just for participating. So again, patreon.com/TAC. As of this moment, it's the most recent post. If you're listening to this on a download, the most recent post will probably be for this episode. Just scroll down one little post on the Patreon. It's right there. Go sign up or look for Rise of Taco on your Battlefy. You may notice that at least Joss and I, although Joss, yours isn't in frame, are on new mics this week, and that's because Rode hooked us up. Turns out someone over at Rode that goes by Juju Bear on BNet is a big Angry Chicken fan and was like, "Hey, would you like some microphones and audio interfaces from Rode?" And we were like, "That sounds lovely. Please send them over." And they did. And I don't know about you, Joss, but this weekend was studio teardown and rebuild weekend over at Casa de Weinzerl. So
I love that you took a weekend to do it. I literally woke up this morning because I've been traveling. I've been in Dallas for a week. So I literally woke up this morning and was like, okay, I've got like an hour. I got to get this done. Let's go. And it was easy, actually. It's pretty much as plug and go as you could possibly get. And I think it sounds great.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with it. I've been using the same stuff for a while, and so I do not switch lightly. But you know, Rode hooked us up, and I put it through its paces over the weekend. Was really happy with it. So huge thanks to Rode. They're like, we don't need to sponsor you. You don't need to do a proper read or anything, but we're gonna give them a shout out anyway because that's really awesome.
Yeah, this is amazing. It's
great.
I feel so pro now.
Yeah, I do too, because we finally got a hookup. Like, folks are probably like, "Oh, you're checking, yeah, you're like super famous, you get free stuff all the time." We don't. It doesn't happen. So it was really awesome that Rode sent this over. Dills, I hear yours is still in the mail, but
yeah, mine is coming, but I'm very excited. I've used Rode stuff in the past. The Rode mics are always part of the toolkit in any studio. You'll definitely see a lot of that brand there. So I'm excited to get these new products that they're making, which are very podcast specific.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea here is like there's podcasters out there, and there's not really a tool made for them, and that's what this is. So
yeah.
That's what I'm going to use it for. So I'm like, okay, a product targeted at what I'm doing. Sweet.
yeah,
It's, in the past, it's always been like take professional recording gear and then make it work for podcasts.
Yeah, and try to figure it out. And that was always my biggest problem, is that like I was trying to do things that I didn't quite understand because I don't have an audio background. So I'm like, I'll turn this knobby a little bit and turn this other knobby a little bit and hope that works. And this is just like, do you want this thing to happen? Yes or no?
Oh, would you like to plug a phone in? Well, here's a little picture of a phone where this is where you plug it in.
This is like Jocelyn level audio, and I love it.
Great.
Yeah, if anyone's wondering what the heck the audio interface is, because it's something you never see on screen if you're watching video, it's the Rodecaster Pro. I have been very skeptical of podcast branded audio interfaces, but I'm super happy with this. So if you're looking at it, stamp of approval, and thanks again to Rode. Now there's a lot to talk about because the rise of mech has dawned. It is here. The mechs have risen.
The mechs have risen.
Yeah,
they rose.
Yeah, so they rose. I like it. Let's get into this week's Hearthstone news.
News, everyone.
So the Rise of Mech patch is here. Went live yesterday for desktop users. If you go on Reddit, you will think that mobile not happening at the same time is the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of man.
Yeah, Blizzard literally like stabbed these people in the stomach or something. It's like, Jesus, man, it's just not on your phone yet. It's fine.
Calm down. They noticed an issue with Arena. That probably pushed things back a little bit, which I guess was just fuel to the fire, because the most top voted comment was like, "This is just embarrassing. You've got bugs and it's not on mobile yet. Oh my God."
Yeah, there's a lot of the small indie company memes going around and stuff too. It's a big patch, man.
Yeah, man, because every other video game studio with billions of dollars is nailing it right now. Anthem is perfect. Artifact is the best card game that's ever been released. Like, man,
there's also a lot in this that wasn't just the buffs. So to me, it made a lot of sense that there was some issues. And also, I'm glad that if something is wrong, because apparently, like, there's stuff like I guess like lackeys weren't being generated in Arena, or weird little things had started to crop up. It's like, yeah, I'd rather them just take that down rather than
like you pick a card that's supposed to have a powerful effect and then you get into your arena game that you paid for in one way or another, and then it's like, oh, that didn't give me the lackey. All right, then. Like, that's a pretty big deal.
This is the kind of response that I want from my Blizzard. I want them to like be like, okay, mobile's not ready yet, don't push it.
Yeah.
Like, don't push it live until it is, you know. But I did note it, like, I was at work and I was checking on my phone. Okay, does Crystology still cost 2? Yes, it does. And then when I got home last night, it actually did start working. So I did play a couple of games on my phone as I was going to bed.
What I don't understand is, like, how does that reconcile? Are you only playing against other mobile players at that point? Because it can't throw you in against...
That's weird, right?
That is how it's worked in the past, though. If you don't patch or update or whatever, then you're in a pool with other players who haven't.
I had no idea that was something that this game has the capability of doing. But I
can't remember which. I can't remember, but I know it was definitely in the past. At some point, there was some patch that they did the same sort of thing where mobile was available a little bit later. So they had like anyone on the old patch on an old patch server and new patch on new patch stuff. So you couldn't queue in and have like cards costing different for different players in the same game or anything. So
I do remember, though, very, very back in the day when they changed something about arena and you could still have, like, if you had drafted your arena deck before, you like still had cards that like weren't available anymore. And stuff
I feel like that was like the very first change they ever made to arena, whatever that change was. And then they were like, oh wait,
cards. Yeah. Some people still had the banned cards. It was like, oh, we shouldn't do it this way anymore.
Yeah.
yeah. They've retired that and created the arena ticket. We figured it out, everybody.
Well, now that they literally are going to change arena every couple months, which also happened in this patch, they have to have a system in place, right? Because this is going to happen pretty commonly.
Yep. Yeah. And so arena was down for most of yesterday. I believe this post went up at 10:30 Pacific time. So this has been real late for me. And apparently arena was fixed shortly after that.
Yeah, it's back up now. I actually logged in and drafted a deck just to kind of see, you know, what the new sets kind of look like, because basically now it's all the mech stuff, right? We got the GVG, what else? Grand Tournament is in there. It's a very
it's classic right basic GVG, TGT, Karazhan is in there. One Night in Karazhan, Boomsday, and Rise of Shadows.
Yeah, lots of mechs.
Yep.
Which I'm very curious to see how that shakes out, because obviously certain classes are more mech focused than others, right? So the classes that aren't, are they going to suffer, or are the balance, like the small like changes that they make to card offerings and buckets, gonna even things out? Obviously, like the first few days, it's like the Wild West whenever they do this, but I don't really care. I understand that. I just want, like, in a week's time, things to kind of shake out a little bit. But
have they said yet if they're going to like keep these pairings of sets the same over time? Like, so
like we could ever come back to the mech?
Will we have this again? Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I don't think they've said anything like that. My understanding is that it's just going to be different every time, but I guess eventually you're going to run out of combinations, right? You'll have to.
I guess so, but like, I'm thinking of like all of the like just arena helper third-party people who have to every 2 months go back through all of this and try to figure out, you know, what's good, what's bad, you know. And
Merps and Dwakta just actually posted that they had updated their tier list, and I'm just like, these poor guys, now they have to do this every 2 months.
I gotta assume that on their end they're seeing enough return on their investment to do it, right? Like, true.
It drums up interest.
There's not, because there is competition, but there's not that much competition. I mean, hell, last week we didn't. Not that they were the leaders in arena tier listing, but like we didn't even talk about last week. Hearthstone's gone. Hearthstone has gone the way of the dodo. So like if anything, and they're not the first Hearthstone website to kind of go bye, but they are one of the biggest.
To me, so the people who are actually running it apparently went off and made their own site called something.card. I can't remember what it's called, but the actual like developers who are working on it are still going to kind of have a similar version of it. It's just Curse, who was funding the whole thing, decided to stop funding a bunch of different websites.
Well, they got purchased by Fandom, didn't they? Or am I getting confused?
I
with
heard
someone
that it
else?
was Curse still.
Oh, okay.
So,
Is it still Curse? I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt like Fandom was just buying everything else up, but I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they basically it was not like just Hearthstone. It was a whole bunch of sites that were like, no, we're not giving money to this anymore. So they're shutting down. But to be honest, in the world of HS replay, sites like Hearthstone, I don't know if they're as necessary anymore, right? Because at some point, like something kind of ends up in that top slot because there's 15 different sites that do kind of the same thing. Do we need 15 sites doing the same thing?
Yeah, and once HS Replay kind of came along and was working with Hearthstone Deck Tracker, and then everything was just kind of auto uploaded to the website, it just became so much easier than, even with deck codes going over to Hearthstone and posting things and writing up guides and stuff. Like nobody ever really did that so much anymore. And it was more just on the Hearthstone staff to maintain that kind of stuff. So, I mean, when it came to actually finding new decks and discovering archetypes and finding even like Hearthstone didn't even have like win rate stats. It was just, this is my deck, upvote, downvote type.
Yeah, upvote, downvote my deck. I never trusted decks I saw that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like the alternative with stats tied to it was just kind of better for that purpose. So they still had news, but I don't know. Yeah, I definitely, once I started using HS Replay a lot more, then I stopped doing Hearthstone as much. So sorry for not driving traffic.
No, it's all right. They always posted Value Town instead of us, so.
Okay, so the new site is out-of.cards, which is a very strange URL, but okay. Out-of.cards, got it. I'm going to look it up and see what it looks like. Okay, yeah, sure.
Cool.
The thing.
Well, that's rad. I was unaware of this.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to it.
I just, I'm with you on that. Hearthstone just kind of made its way out of my peripheral. Like I didn't really look there for stuff anymore. But I do think that someone in the chat said it's hard. Oh yeah, here you go. Leon Lewis GJ says it's harder to find dumb decks on HS Replay. Yeah, I agree with that. If you're looking up a meme deck, that's difficult because they filter out anything with like not enough games played, right?
Yeah,
right. So, that's Hearthstone from a deck sharing aspect felt very much like a community, whereas HS Replay, because of the nature of its service, feels very clinical.
Yes.
Which I like clinical. I like numbers and stats and stuff like that. That's kind of what I tend to gravitate towards. But you're absolutely right. And in the early days, my God, I lived on Hearthstone.
Sure.
And I still used it during, people are mentioning reveal season too. I used it almost exclusively during reveal season.
Well, but even reveal season, the official Hearthstone website has gotten much better.
It has gotten much better. It used to be trash.
Oh no, it used to be terrible, but that's what I'm saying. Like it seems like Hearthstone, the way it used to be with like decks and doing reveal stuff that they did very, very well. It's like, well, now we have other services like the Play Hearthstone website is obviously the official Hearthstone website. It's the official place to get things. And then you've got HS Replay that we just talked about, both kind of doing what Hearthstone was doing, but a little bit, I don't necessarily want to say better, but better.
You want to say better. Come on.
Better for me. better for me and what I'm looking
Better for you. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. The last bastion for me was translated cards, leaked cards that would always show up on Hearthstone before it would show up on the official Blizzard
definitely
collection and whatnot. So if you were us and you didn't want the instant correction by chat room of, wait, you didn't talk about fluffy whatever. We're just like, wait, okay, didn't see it, sorry. Okay, so a lot of times it was just a safer bet to go with a fan site like Hearthstone just to have everything, even the stuff that Blizzard didn't think English speakers were ready for yet. But anyways, so side segment there. Sad to see it go, but glad to see that the team is carrying it on and off to their own, make it their own. So excited for them. Anyways, before we get into the patch itself, because there was more to this than just buffs and getting a free legendary, let's thank our patrons supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you like the Angry Chicken, what we're putting out into the world, and you ever thought to yourself, boy, I would like to pay for something that I don't have to. Well, patreon.com/TAC is the best way to do that. If you want to kick $1 in an episode, $5 in an episode, we'd like to retire, kick in like $1 million an episode just for like, a month. You can do that over patreon.com/TAC, and we really appreciate the support, everybody. And to some of our newer patrons, Patrick W. and Martin VH, I like to think it's Van Helsing. We cannot thank you enough. So thanks for the support, everybody. And check out patreon.com/TAC to support the show, but also to go sign up for Taco and win yourself some card packs. So let's move into patch 14.4. If you haven't logged in already, make sure you go do that so you get your golden snip snap. Guys, I didn't realize how much I would be annoyed by having to type snip snap with a number 1 and a number 4.
A 1 and a 4.
I realized I could just type it and it would be fine, and I would move on with my life and probably read it phonetically, and it would be fine, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. But I like to be on brand. I like to be in universe, and it's getting to me already just on today's episode, typing up notes. But yeah, go get your golden snip snap. Really good card.
Yeah,
mechs were already working.
Too good. Maybe too good. I don't know. So far, the meta doesn't seem to be broken, but it's early.
Well, I think it seems like they really want us to be fighting for board position with minions, right? So mechs and magnetizing are a really, really good way of doing that. So I'm cool with like flood the boardy, magnetize mech type decks for now, but I don't want this to be Hearthstone forever.
Yeah, I will say this though, like I feel like Hearthstone is just in a really good spot right now overall. And so one concern I had was, okay, we were having a pretty good time before the buffs. Like, oh god, I hope these buffs don't break everything. Mm-hmm. But the little I played last night, it just kind of felt like more new decks were introduced, and it didn't make other things go away.
Yeah.
It didn't make anything like broken. It just made things like the Mech Paladin is like now a thing, right? And to me, like, I played against a mage where I was like doing all these crazy mech magnetized things, and then they did like this insane, cyclone turn, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like we're both doing crazy stuff, but it feels like there's counterplay to it, right? And I was like, that's what I want my Hearthstone to feel like. I want it to feel like I can do really cool stuff, not like plop down a minion that costs exactly this on each turn and then take a value trade. It's like, no, I also want there to be interesting things, right?
Yeah.
And magnetic and, making your cyclone cost 0 and generating a bunch of spells and all that kind of stuff. It all feels like very good right now to me. And if these buffs, at least if they don't break anything, they've introduced a lot of new cool stuff, right?
Yeah, thanks to the community, the OTK was caught before it went out into the world, so that like that's something we would have shown up on today's episode and been like, and it's broken. Nothing feels completely broken. Just in my play today, it does seem like this has had a pretty strong effect on the meta, but it's day one. I think more people are going to be wanting to try the new stuff versus not. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm I'm really curious what this is going to feel like next week. When we get together next Tuesday and we talk about this, what is the meta really going to feel like? Because there's a lot of decks that I think are going to be just fine and still are just fine that aren't going to utilize any of the buffed cards. It's not like every class in the game is suddenly just going to be like, and I'm a mech deck now. Yeah.
No, it does feel to me like the things that I was concerned about aren't that bad. Like, Crystology being one, yeah, it's good. That's really good. Maybe too good. But the Paladin deck itself feels like it's in a balanced spot in the meta, right? So it's like these things like, yeah, that card might be good, but there's 30 cards in your deck, not just these two. Mm-hmm. So it's okay for stuff to be powerful, right? Like, we don't need everything to be exactly on parity. We do want powerful stuff out there. So yeah, I don't know. It's all fine so far.
Do we think we're going to see any type of, I don't know, it's hard. I guess it's a hard thing, but it feels different right now because of how many changes we just got back to back over the course of the past 2 weeks between the nerfs and now this week with the buffs. Last year, let's see, Boomsday Project was expansion number 2 last year, right? That came out August 7th. So pretty early August. Rise of Shadows actually came out a little bit earlier than the Witchwood this year by like 4 days, I think, 3 days earlier. So if we're going into the first week of August for expansion number 2, do we think we're going to see any more adjustments between now and the expansion 2 for 2019?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think that they'll hold off. I think if there's something that's broken or something that needs changing, I think they would absolutely go and look at it. But I think right now everything feels pretty good. Like I'm on board with you guys. Like nothing seems necessarily broken. But I think if over time, like, because again, you said this is day 1. So I think over time, if something seems to be too dominant, I think we'll absolutely see some more balance changes, because it's still like, what, 2 months potentially away. So
Yeah,
I
pretty
think
much.
we'll still see something. Yeah, 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see, because to me it looks like there's like Dilsey said, there's nothing that's gone away, which means we basically just have more options now. I'm curious to see what Grandmasters looks like, maybe not even potentially this weekend, but next weekend, once they have some time to play test some decks, because that's kind of the format that is meant to mirror ladder in Blizzard's eyes. So I'm curious to see if we start to see some changes and some variety, in more so than we have now. I know that there's some variety, but I'm hoping that there isn't just like one best thing to do and that we see some variance.
Well, since the nerfs, there's definitely been variety in specialist.
Yeah.
So
I got to say, I missed this last weekend. I was doing DreamHack stuff, so I missed it, but
it was really good. There was like all sorts of decks. Yeah. This was actually the best Grandmasters week that I've ever watched.
Yeah.
There was
I love how you say it. It's the best I've ever watched. It's like It's been around for 3 weeks.
I know.
Like it's been around for
so long. No, but I mean, it was problematic the first week when it was.
Oh my God, the first week was really bad. The first week made me think that I wasn't going to watch Grandmasters.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, if this is what it's like every week, I just no.
Yeah. No, I threw it on. I just threw on like YouTube replays of it or whatever, and my plan was to just watch. I think it was like Purple Plaid Delay or something like that, where I was like, oh, that's it's like a grudge match, 2 friends going at it, and then I just let it auto play a bunch more matches and was like, oh my God, this is awesome! Like everyone's playing cool stuff all of a sudden.
Good.
So yeah, and I don't think that these buffs will then suddenly zero in on something, because they're 2 buffs to each class. Like they're fairly spread out. Well, all it's really seeming to do so far is introduce
Mech stuff,
new decks, new archetypes. Yeah. And not just mechs too. I mean, the people playing friggin' Luna's Pocket Galaxy in the like basically the same mage deck, but with Luna's Pocket Galaxy. It's like, oh wow. Yeah. You actually think that it's okay to spend 5 mana on this? Okay.
Well, that was the thing, right? Like for 7, it was basically unplayable. You had to build a very specific deck and have a very specific opponent for that to be successful. But now at 5 mana, because that was the one we were talking about, that was one of the biggest changes, right? Was that 2 mana drop was huge.
2 mana change, yeah.
So I'm glad that it's seeing play now. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of cool too, right? It's like, hey, if I get this off, my giants cost 1, which essentially means they cost 0 because they all have reductions. And you can do some really powerful stuff. So
yeah, we'll talk about more about all of the decks we've been seeing and trying in the strategy segment. That's what today will be about. In case anyone wonders why we're dancing around a little bit, let's talk about the other patch changes that came in with 14.4, because there's a decent amount here. They made some quality of life changes. So first up is disconnections and reconnecting are a lot better than it used to be. They said players who are disconnected from Hearthstone will no longer be directed back to the login and launch screen when attempting to reconnect. The game is now going to just, in their words, seamlessly reconnect in the background from any screen. Deck editing while browsing the collection manager is also included in this if you disconnect. So just supposed to feel a little more seamless. Kind of break your immersion a little less. They did have a note saying, hey, we're still working on this, so you might notice some bugs. But I haven't disconnected since.
I haven't had a chance to experience this yet, but I do know that in the past it would really suck when you disconnect in a game and you come back and it's like you're a full turn later and you didn't do anything and now you definitely lose. So anything
The
that
worst
gets
was
back
like
in faster, you know.
I found it took so long to reconnect on mobile that if I ever had a disconnect, I always got the message saying like you lost your last Hearthstone match because of a disconnect, and I'm like, oh.
Mine's
So anything that like, because I mean, my phone was a few years old, and so it was really slow. But I'm hoping that it just kind of doesn't have to relaunch the whole entire application, which is what was causing a lot of the slowdown getting back in. So if it doesn't have to do that anymore, if it just is looking for that connection to the game, then that's a huge quality of life change for mobile specifically, for me anyways, because my internet connection is pretty stable at home. So
I'm glad you brought up the
on mobile.
I'm glad you brought up the age of your phone, because mine used to be terrible when I finally upgraded. As long as I was on Wi-Fi at home, it was pretty damn good. And I've abused it once or twice. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I'm playing on my desktop and I have to go to the bathroom suddenly. You know, you don't want to lose that game. Thank you, coffee. Anyways, and also there was a new pop-up added that's going to alert you as to when you kind of lose your connection. So that should help you know when to do what you can to make sure you get reconnected as fast as you can. So also on top of this, we can now access Hearthstone offline, which is something I did not expect to ever come to the game. We can't really play, but we can browse our collection manager. We can edit decks, we can create decks, we can delete decks, rename decks, we can set favorite heroes, set favorite card backs. That's rad. It'll also let you finish opening a pack if you were in the process of opening a pack when you disconnect it. But you can't open anymore after that point, which makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how often I'm going to ever use this, but okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I want offline single player mode, but I understand that they're not really designed for that right now. So maybe in the future they will design it that way. But that's really like, I don't see myself logging onto my phone or whatever when I don't have internet and just like building a deck. I don't know.
Yeah, really the only time that I am offline is like when I'm on vacation up at the cottage, because like there's no cell phone towers. So I get like kind of one bar, sometimes maybe. So if I could play single player Hearthstone offline, I would do that. So I would just be sitting out on the dock with my iPad, like, yes, please.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah, so I'd like to see that. Get on it, Hearthstone. This is great, but
I'd love to do, like the Dalaran heist offline. That'd be fantastic. On the plane, I don't have to pay for shitty Wi-Fi. That'd be awesome. Sign me up. I get it. They probably don't. I think the three of us are probably like, whatever. People want to cheat for a card back, go nuts. But I'm sure that's at least in the back of the heads of folks over at Team 5. Being like, yeah, but if you go offline, it's a lot easier to cheat. And yeah, you're not really getting much except for a card back. But we don't want you to have a cool card back if you cheated, you cheater.
At least it doesn't really mess with their economy in any way, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's the big thing, right? Is they don't want you to. I would assume if offline play ever comes, no quests are going to be able to be completed, anything of that nature, because they don't want you to be able to just cheat for free gold.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. This is the big thing I noticed in patch 14.4, and multiple folks have tweeted at us talking about this. Because I'll be honest, I just didn't even bother to go read the patch. I was like, yeah, I already know. We're getting buffs, we're getting snip snap, and folks on Twitter were like, no, dude, matchmaking improvements. I'm like, wait, what? And so get in here, and sure enough, they wrote, we've implemented a new feature to reduce chances of matching against the same player multiple times in a row. Some exceptions may occur when players have few matchmaking options near their rank.
So read like super high legend.
Exactly.
Especially or wild.
Wild, yeah.
Wild.
I look at this and I specifically think about wild because there's just so few players that when you get to a certain point, like especially legend, when you get to a certain point, you just play the same friggin' guy over and over again. And people counter queue each other and stuff. So like, you play somebody and then you just grab a counter deck to them and queue up again, right? And so the person like playing, especially see this with like streamers, they end up just losing a lot of games because the person that they played against changed the deck just specifically to counter them.
Yeah.
So it makes climbing and streaming really difficult and wild. So a lot of times you see people will just, if they lose a game, they like sit there for 5 minutes waiting so that they can try to like queue when the person isn't, and that's really dumb. And I love the idea of like just try to find a different person. Like, let's just stop playing the same person over and over again. I understand.
I wonder if over on Team 5's end, if they're seeing internal statistics that really match up with that maybe that's a really common practice. Because if you're sitting there, if most high level Legend players are sitting there waiting 5 minutes at a time before they requeue for the second game, because when we talk about things like this, features like this being added to the game, what is the first thing that always comes up? It's well, they probably don't want long queue times. But if they're seeing internally that a large percentage of their high-ranking wild players are waiting a long time anyway, well, then who cares? Bake this in and just have the wait be the queue.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, that effectively is queue time. You know what I mean? If you're sitting there doing nothing.
You're sitting there waiting anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
There was also a mistake in the original patch notes that I got super stoked about, but they ended up saying, no, that was never actually in there, was that they added not only queuing against the same player, but also queuing against the same class. So like if I played a warrior, then my next game would not be against another warrior.
Oh, wait, what? Crap. I read this before this, and I didn't even realize that had been omitted now when I read it.
Yeah,
so
yeah, Peter actually clarified on Twitter that it was a mistake in the patch notes, and that, you know, they don't do matchmaking based on classes at all. And I'm like, then why was it in there? Who did that? Whose idea was it? What's going on? Is that a different build? Are we getting this? So yeah, that was a thing that was in the patch notes, but apparently is not something that is in the game.
Now, is there a world, though, where this could possibly mean I end up actually playing against more warriors on average than I would have without that protection? Because I wonder.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't know. And I mean, obviously it's not in the game, so I didn't give it too much thought after they said like, oh no, that's not something that we're patching in. But I mean, I feel like that's almost as close to actually being able to ban a class as we would maybe ever get on ladder.
Yeah. I actually, so I think that it would be cool if maybe the percentage was lowered of matching against the same class again. I do understand if you literally just omitted a class from the queue, that might make things difficult, right?
It would have really interesting like meta implications, I feel like.
Yeah. Because like if you are playing the top deck, then are your queue times insane, right? Like,
or like, okay, so let's say I'm playing. Sorry, so let's say like I'm playing a deck to counter one specific thing. I queue into that one specific thing, and then I know my next game won't be against a warrior, a rogue, whatever. So then I switch for my second game into a deck that's better at countering everything else, and then I do something else. And like, oh man, I feel like that it sounds like a cool place to be that I would like to see explored.
Yeah, but see, I also think it sounds cool, and then it's in reality it's like ridiculous and impossible and screws everything up, right?
Yeah, I feel like it would just add another layer of complexity, and I'm always interested in stuff like that where it's like it becomes more, there's more thinking. It's like a little mini tournament. It's like you're trying to figure out what your best deck is to queue in a certain set of circumstances, so better players who aren't just queuing the same deck over and over and over again are going to get rewarded, right? So
that part is cool.
I don't know if it works that way though.
Well, the example you just brought up is only good if you end up going against the class you're countering, which you in your first game in the system, you're just as likely to get any of the other archetypes or classes.
In the first game for sure. But then like in the second game of your run, then like you'll know what your first class was. So then it's like you have a ban, right? So if I played a warrior and I'm not going to get a warrior in game 2, then I could be like, okay, warrior is banned. Now I'll queue something that I wouldn't get a win with if I queued into a warrior. And then let's say my second game was against mage. So in my third game, I'm like, okay, warrior's back on the table, but now mage is banned. Like, that's so cool to me.
It is interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It might work.
I'm following now. I was really off board when I was like, there's no guarantee you're going to get warrior, and you're just going to like lose 5 ranks until you find that warrior and start your well, I guess at that point
It's just what it really just means is like once I play a warrior, now I can play rogue or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just using warrior as an example in this
Yeah.
hypothetical. Even though I'm still very sick of playing against warriors. Not that it happens that often. I just don't want to. But guys, I'm just done playing around Brawl. I'm done. I don't want to deal with it anymore.
But yeah, I just think it's an interesting idea that I would like to see them explore, because I feel like for about a year now, I've been in the, okay, let's see bans on ladder camp.
Yeah. Frankly, I'd rather just see bans than what we thought this was.
Yeah, that's some like weird way to do it.
Yeah,
I just pure bans would be sweet. I think though, like I said, like I think one of the issues that they run into is they're worried about queue times for the most popular deck, right? Like if it's always banned. So we'll see.
Well, so then this is kind of like a way to it might slow down the queues for.
It would slow down queues for the most popular class.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter. The ban wouldn't matter. It would literally just be whatever the most popular class is would essentially be banned more of the time, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because it wouldn't actually be in the player's hands. Like if nobody would choose that. Like I ban the most popular class. It literally just would be like the most banned.
Yes. It's interesting to think about anyways. So
Yeah.
But what if it like that's like the other thing that's like a little scary is like what if it deters people from like playing that class? So then you're like actually messing with the meta, and then but I mean, would that be bad? Like it's like, oh, I don't play the best class because the queue times are really long. It's like the WoW thing of like, oh, I'm gonna play tank, so I have insta queues into 5-minute, right? Like I don't want to play DPS because I'm sick of 30-minute queues.
Chat room's also saying there's lots of people who only have one deck, so it's a big issue for new players. But again, like it depends. Like the issue is going to be queue time, right? And then, so if the issue is queue time, are we talking the difference between 10 seconds and 30 seconds? Or are we talking the difference between like 10 seconds and 5 minutes? Because then, yeah, that's a problem. Absolutely. But if it's a matter of a couple of seconds, then I'd like to see them explore this. This falls to me under the umbrella of more modes and things I'd like to see them play around with and try.
I don't want to keep talking about this hypothetical because we have other things to talk about. But the other potential issue would be always mirror match for the class that is the most banned.
Yeah.
That is the other potential issue outside of queue times. But that's in a world where everything gets banned. Right now, I would not ban the most popular deck because that would be Secret Hunter. I would ban Warrior. I don't want to ever get brawled again. I want to see Brawl deleted from the game. But whatever. Anyways, matching improvement. Just getting matched against the same player, still a good improvement, even though the implications of same class were wild to think about. But alas, we do not find ourselves there. They also said a pretty ambiguous kind of note in here. They said match quality has been improved for players of ranks 25 to 21, and they should now face more opponents of similar skill. And that's it. They didn't explain what that even means, what they're tracking, how they do it. I would be really interested to have the layers peeled back on that statement.
Well, Daniel J. Newman in the chat room said at rank 20, we were getting matches with people that were like 10 ranks higher. So I imagine it must limit the rank that you play against somehow. I would think.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, if you're rank 20 and you're getting matched against someone who's rank 10, that's a pretty big discrepancy, I think.
That makes me think that there's not a lot of players in those ranks.
Which there might not be with rank floors now, right?
Yeah, very, very true.
Well, yeah, because once you pass 20, don't you like not even go back there?
Yeah, you can't lose stars at those ranks.
But I mean, I thought like even when the reset happens, can you like not go back behind? I can't remember exactly what
25 is the lowest you can go, right?
No, but I mean, I thought they had made it so that at some point don't go backwards anymore to try to keep. I don't know. I can't remember exactly the wording.
You definitely can't go down past 25.
You can't go back down. Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, you can still go down as low as 25.
Okay.
We're not talking about the extra 25 ranks that were added a while ago.
Yeah, the new player ones.
That's its own.
No, you definitely can't go down into those.
Rank 50.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. As much as I would maybe like to, at least once, just to be like, I want to go back down and get my card packs. That's what I want to do. Like, I'm just gonna keep losing.
You got to make a new account.
Clearly.
Well, but then he doesn't get the card packs on the old account.
I'm being cheeky. There were some bug fixes. Go read them on your own time. There's quite a few of them. We're not going to detail them here. Moving on into the other world of Hearthstone. More ways to spend your money, y'all. There's a $20, if we're talking US currency, Masters bundle to support Hearthstone esports. This is a new bundle that's been added to the store. You get 10 Rastakhan packs and 10 Rise of Shadow packs for $20. It's a good deal in the grand scheme of things. Buyers are also going to receive a new card back and a new Shaman hero, the Thunder King, which is a really rad looking hero. I'm totally buying this. This is money that no longer belongs to me.
I already bought it and opened my packs.
So I didn't even know this was a thing yet, and then I played against a shaman who was the Thunder King, and I was like, "What?
Oh, that had to be so cool!" Sadly, yeah, I know. I totally knew about it before I got in, and I have played against a couple shamans already today, and none of them were the Thunder King. That would have been so cool if I didn't know about it and just saw it randomly in the freaking game.
That's exactly what happened. I was just like, "Holy crap, the Thunder King!" I was very excited about that. I immediately was like looking it up. But
does anyone remember? I guess I could find out because I don't have Muradin. What did the standalone heroes go for?
I think they're $10.
$10.
Yeah.
I like this so much more. I'd rather spend an extra 10 and get a bunch of card packs.
Well, yeah, it's basically, at least in Canadian currency, so it's $25 Canadian to get this bundle, and normally you get 15 packs for $25. So you're getting an extra 5 packs plus the card back and the hero.
And a hero,
Yeah. I mean, it would
it's
still
not like an annoying, Murloc shaman. I'm like a dope Thunder King now. Your totem's just like flying from the sky. It's awesome.
Excuse you. Don't you dare talk bad about that Murloc Oracle. That is, I have had that locked in.
The Oracle.
I have had that locked in since it hit the game. My shaman hasn't been Thrall in years.
No.
Or however long Murgle the Oracle's
been in.
Morgul. Yeah, however long Morgul's been in. Yeah, but there's fine print here. A portion of the proceeds will go towards the prize pool of the upcoming Masters tournaments, up to a maximum of 250,000 additional US dollars per tournament. So this is for the 3 Grandmasters, the 3 Masters tours.
Great Masters, it's not Grandmasters, it's the
Grandmasters.
Sorry, Masters tour. How dare I get those confused?
Yeah.
Ooh,
a whole other word in there.
Yeah, so it's going to be up to a total maximum of 750,000 extra dollars injected into official Hearthstone esports. So that's good. And they even said it's 50%. 50% of every bundle sold is getting kicked over to the Masters Tour.
I'm really curious about, first off, why they capped it. Second of all, why they only allow 1 per account. And then, because, once I get the hero once, then the value of the bundle goes down. But if I want to continue supporting Hearthstone esports, I might pay $25 for 20 packs, because that's still 5 bonus packs compared to normal pricing. So
because it's a business, I think, is the answer to that.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't know. I find it odd that it's capped. If you want to keep it to 1 per account, okay, fine. But why cap the total going into esports?
That's where I agree with you.
Because I know
it doesn't surprise
StarCraft
me.
has done this before with a cap, but then Smite and I think Dota and I think League, I don't follow them as closely, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
I do not believe the International has a cap, and if it does, it's a very high cap.
I was gonna say,
going up and up every year.
So those are fan-driven, fan-funded esports events that then get huge eyes and amazing press and the best players in the world, and it's a big freaking deal. And I'm not saying that 250,000 isn't a big deal. It is, but if I wanted to pump more money into that, let me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that at all. I get not being able to buy the bundle over and over again, because this is just the most efficient way to buy cards.
Why would it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you buy any other version of if you wanted packs from either of these sets? That is. But as far as capping it, I have no idea. What? So what? I want to gift this bundle to as many people as I can because I've got all the money in the world and I want to fund Hearthstone esports.
Right, it is giftable. That's good. That's a good.
To get to the $750,000, if it's $20 for the bundle, it's not that many people buying it. That's less than 40,000 people buy it, and you get there, right?
Yeah. So
50,000 divided by 20
That
is
to me seems like an achievable maximum.
37,500. There's millions of people playing Hearthstone.
And so that's the other interesting thing, right? Because there's a cap on the amount of money that's going to go into Hearthstone esports, but there's no like progress bar, and there's no indication that once this $750,000 is reached, that they'll stop selling the bundle. They said that they're going to sell the Masters bundle through July 1st. So once they hit that $750,000 mark, then 100% of the money, when they're saying they're supporting esports, actually just goes to Blizzard. I'm kind of like, I'd rather just kept going to esports.
I'm with you.
It seems like an odd way to do it. Even if it just said like progress bar, just so people know that like if we do hit this in the first day, then
like maybe I won't buy it now.
Yeah. If what you want to do is support esports, then if I'm no longer supporting esports, I feel like as a consumer, that's a thing I want to know.
The first 37,000 of you will be, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, well, isn't it double that? Because it's 50% of the revenue, right? So $10 from every bundle. So 75,000 of you.
75,000 of you will be supporting it.
Yeah. That seems like, although China doesn't count, right? Because China does their own thing. Yeah.
It's strange and hard not to kind of look at it skeptically when it's kind of I mean it's not that sort
step in the right direction, I think, because like I want the players to get more money. I want it to be a sustainable career thing that people can do because I like watching esports. So
I do like that it went to the Masters tournaments, not the Grandmasters.
Not the Grandmasters, yes.
That's the smallest pool of players.
That's a huge
Masters ones are the ones
yeah.
that you can actually, they're attainable for everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
100%. So I'm glad that they're doing this. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think it still has some kinks that I would like to see addressed, I think, personally.
Agreed. Chapter 4 of the Dalaran Heist has been live now for a few days. Went live last Thursday. I had the stupidest deck that I just full cleared on normal with. I got 6 Cthuns. 6 Cthuns. And I buffed 2 of them, +4/+4, cost 2 more mana, but I had what, Togwaggle's dice, I think. So it was gross.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's gross.
No! I had the Cloak of Gaudinus. Sorry, so they were half price. So I had 6 mana.
The Cloak makes it super easy. I ended up beating it with a warrior where the beginning, the like beginner deck that I started with had like the 2/6 taunt guy that enrages. So it said he was a 6/2 and he just died every single time I played him. But because the twist is that it reverses the health and attack of all your minions.
Yeah.
That was a weird card inclusion for the class that released with this chapter.
Come on, man.
That was very strange. And this is the first chapter, for whatever reason, I just jumped in. I didn't read anything. I was like, whatever, let's just go. And then I'm like, why are things the way they are? And I'm like, oh, that's right. Every chapter has a twist. I completely forgot to even see what this chapter's twist was because I've just been enjoying it so much. I just wanted to see a new Dalaran Heist chapter.
It's kind of fun to do it that way. By the way, I play anomaly mode basically every single time I play now.
Oh yeah.
I haven't tried
I just turned it permanently
mode.
on, even for heroics that I haven't beaten yet, because I still haven't beaten 3 and 4 in heroic. So, but I'm just like, it just makes each run feel so freaking different, and there's always like a way to kind of take advantage of it too, right? So
totally.
You build your deck specifically for whatever the anomaly thing is.
It's the only thing I haven't really messed with. I've done a lot of heroic, more than I've ever done in the history of any single player that has ever been added to this game. But I haven't done anomaly mode because to me, I'm like, this is crazy enough. 6 Cthuns that are half price and 2 of them already got +4/+4. Like that's bonkers. So, yeah, but I'm again still having a good time. Yeah, I haven't tried the new classes because I just really like Priest. I like Priest a lot in Dalaran Heist, so I've just been sticking with it.
Yeah, it's so far been my most successful one for sure. There's just a lot of really good Priest cards apparently that when you can pull all the wild stuff back in.
Yeah, well, man, it's just really fun to just draft big, and with Priest you can draft big and bring the big back through res. So,
or cheat it out early.
That too. Yep, it's gross.
Yep,
it's gross. I love it. I love being gross. Thank you, Dollar on Heist. It's been solid. So, anyways, before we get into the strategy segment today, which will be kind of checking in on post-buff decks, kind of our day one assessment of what's going on, we got some sponsors to thank today. Let's thank Away Luggage for sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You can check out their offerings over at awaytravel.com/TAC20. You've probably heard us mention it by now, but if you haven't, all three of us love our Away Luggage. We all, can I speak for all of us? We all feel like bigger adults, like we're actually adults now, because it's not just the crappy hand-me-down luggage that's missing a wheel that at least I know I had before I got my Away
It was
Luggage.
the first time I ever bragged to somebody else about my luggage.
So grown up.
What an adult
That's definitely what
conversation.
grown-ups do, right?
Yeah, all the time talk about luggage.
And then you wheel it over to the corner of the airport and you use the internal ejectable battery to recharge your phone so you can play more video games.
To play video games, exactly. So super adult stuff. Yeah.
I literally, while waiting for my flight in Dallas, was able to do a raid in Pokemon Go because my phone was dying, but I had my luggage with me so I could go to this weird corner of the airport that had no plugs and I could sit there and do a raid, and I caught a super cool Pokemon. So thanks, Away Luggage, for letting me adult.
Yep. I'm a big fan too, because I don't know about you guys, but I always dress kind of nice when I fly. One, I notice I get treated better, and if there's an issue, people actually want to talk to me. And two, guys, sport coats are like purses. There's so many like places to put things, so I like wearing a jacket when I go on a plane, and so I just love it. I love looking really professional, and then recharging my Switch to play Let's Go Pikachu on, and just looking like a 5-year-old in the airport in a freaking suit. So yeah, it's nice. It's fun. Thank you, Away Luggage, for making me look ridiculous in airports. So you should go check them out. Both the carry-on sizes, the regular carry-on and the aptly named bigger carry-on, have an optional ejectable battery to keep your phone charged. They've got a TSA-approved combination lock. One of my favorite things is a 100-day trial. It means you can take it on the road. You can go on a trip with your Away Luggage, put it through the paces, decide if you like it or not. There's also a lifetime warranty and free shipping within the lower 48 states. On top of all of this, you can get $20 off a suitcase when you go to awaytravel.com/TAC20 and use the promo code TAC20 during checkout. Again, get $20 off a suitcase when you go to awaytravel.com/TAC20 and use the promo code TAC20 during checkout. And I know what I'll be putting in my Away Luggage, at least partially, because I got to have underwear when I travel. I'll be putting in my MeUndies. Super, super comfortable. They're also sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. I mean, when the Hearthstone player of life, folks, throws old, worn-out underwear at you, you just counter it with MeUndies. That's how you do it. That's what you top. You top deck a pair of MeUndies, and you just windmill slam it on the board, and you defeat your opponent with comfort. It's wonderful. I love my MeUndies.
Me too. And they actually right now, because it's Pride Month, so they just started selling 3 new patterns for Pride Month that are amazing, and I love them and I want them all.
Oh, I haven't seen the prints yet. Every print they've ever done that they've sent me are just hilariously awesome, or just really nicely designed. Like I have an absurd Stormtrooper pair of pants for lounging around the house in.
With the disco balls?
It's great. It's great.
I have the lightsaber one. I'm actually wearing it right now.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
These are like the best pair of pajama pants I've ever owned. Like by far. The way they're like cut and everything is perfect. So I can actually like take Iggy on a walk and I'm not dragging them under my feet through the grass because they're actually like cut properly around my ankles. You know, they stay above my flippy floppies.
Going outside in your lightsaber pants. I dig it. Man.
Yeah. Dude, if I'm home, I'm in my MeUndies pajama pants at this point, or the onesie, one or the other, depending on if it's winter or summer.
Nice. Well, they've got an awesome offer for listeners of The Angry Chicken. You can get 15% off your first pair, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee when you go to MeUndies.com/TAC. Again, that is MeUndies.com/TAC for 15% off your first pair of MeUndies. And you'll let them know that Tax sent you, and you'll support The Angry Chicken in the process. So we thank them for their support. We thank you for going to MeUndies.com/TAC. Now, let's talk about all these freaking decks that are popping up, most of them running Snip Snap.
Very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay.
So the buffs are here, And there's a lot of decks that haven't changed, but there's a decent amount of decks that have. There's a whole lot of mech going on, folks. There's a whole lot of mech going on.
Yeah, and Snip Snap is, like you said, it's just pervasive. It's everywhere. It's a freaking good card, man. Like, even if it didn't have one of these words on it, it would probably still be fine, right? Like, you could take out an entire facet of this card and it'd still be sweet. But the fact that you can also magnetize it and you can echo it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's good, y'all. It's
And
good.
it has a death rattle too, so it's not even just.
Well, yeah, no, you can just
Like,
drop it on turn
just-
3.
yeah.
You do nothing with it, but just play it, and it's just good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go in class order and talk about Druid first. If anyone's wondering what we're using at home to kind of see what's happening in the meta, we're using HS Replay as usual, and we've got the filter set, the latest patch. If you didn't know they had that, they do. I can even refresh this, see if it's changed as game's played a bit. Oh yeah, look how many more Druids just popped up. Because I've had this open since this morning. Anyways, Token Druid is still very, very popular, still very much works for the climb, and some of them are running Snip Snap now. And it's working, because of course it works.
Yeah, so I've been playing a little bit since last night, and I started to see galvanizers and stuff in the Token Druid, so they were actually basically just going with a pure mech package, and then throwing in just like some of the other token things, right? So
There's even Harvest Golem.
Yeah.
There's Harvest
Well, 'cause
Golem in
Harvest Golem's
so many decks right now. I'm seeing him all over the place, and I was, expecting things to get a little more mech heavy, but I was not expecting freaking Harvest Golem to come back.
Next thing you know, we're going to be getting Demolishers, and my life will be complete.
Jocelyn, you were so right about Life Drinker when Dills and I were so wrong. Can you just be happy with that? I don't think Demolishers are coming back.
It could, though. This is the time, if there was ever a time for Demolisher.
Demolishers, I call on you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I actually think that we'll eventually see the Forest Aids come out of this, and it's going to get even faster.
Which is funny, because only like 2-3 weeks ago we were talking about how good Forest Aid ended up being, with it being a twin spell, and even at 8 mana, like, it still got played, it was still great, and now we're just like, mechs are better.
Well, the problem is, if you run double Forest Aid and you end up drawing both Forest Aid, you just have these 2 8-cost spells that you can't play for a really long time in a deck that's trying to build a bunch of early pressure and capitalize on it, right?
Yeah, if anything,
So
this specific deck list we're looking at, I would take one out and put in a second Harvest Golem at this point.
Sure, yeah. Or I think I'd take both out and I'd put in the Galvanizers, because being able to, like, I noticed when playing at least the Mech Paladin that Galvanizer on 2 just means that your curve is broken after that, right? Like, yes, you do play a 2-mana 1/2, and that's not very good, but suddenly now you're talking 3-mana magnetized guy, what's his name? Replicating Menace. And you magnetize that, because most classes these days aren't killing the Galvanizer, by the way, on 2. Like, it generally sticks. And then you replicating Menace him. And suddenly you've got, a 4/3 that's doing damage and death rattling out 3 1/1s. So it's just a really strong curve when you can do that. So I think I would personally do that if I'm playing this deck. I'm definitely gonna mess around with that anyway on ladder.
It feels like this deck has enough mechs. And the Galvanizer, I mean, this reminds me of the conversation you and I were having last week about Secret Hunter Dills. It's like, Galvanizer is that kind of card. It's like, it's really easy to hold on to it a little longer than you probably need to.
Sure.
Like, just hit like 2 mechs with it. You're fine. It's
yeah,
okay.
that's yeah. I think a lot of people think, oh, you need to hit 5 cards with it. It's like, no. You play it on 2, and then you play a 4-drop on 3, and that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've already gotten enough value because of the tempo generation.
Yeah, you just cheated your curve. It's wonderful. What more do you want?
Yep. Or you can coin it on 1, snip snap on 2. I mean, there's just so many things where it's just like all of a sudden you're just so far out in front.
Yeah, it's gnarly, man. The thing is, with Druid, the buffs were actually Gloop Sprayer and Mulch Muncher, and not much really happening with those cards.
No.
No.
There are people trying to make a heal Druid thing work, and they're playing the 7-mana Gloop Sprayer, but that deck is just not good, unfortunately.
It's not great. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, we're going to talk about multiple decks today that are trying new things but aren't really working, and it just comes down to there's better archetypes in their classes that are just a way better bet if you're looking to climb the ladder. Now, if you're looking to just play something very different, depending on what you're coming to the game for, yeah, you might have a great time with this. This is one of those kind of heal-based druids that runs like Lucent Bark. That's where folks are slotting in the Gloop Sprayers right now, and so it's cheaper than it was before thanks to the buff. But this archetype it's just not great in the meta right now, especially when you have Token Druid, one of the best ladder climbing decks in the game.
Now, is the Token Druid is there still a variant that's going down the Treant route and using Mulch Muncher as often, or is it just like everyone's just kind of going mechs now?
I think everyone's doing the mech thing right now, but I have seen people messing with the Treant stuff because the card that turns it into 5/5s, I've had that played on me like 3 or 4 times, which surprised every single time it happens. I'm like, oh, wow, that thing. Okay. Yeah. And every single time it happens, I lose. So I think it is a potential real deck. It's just not very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone messing with it. Again, it's only day 1, so I'm pretty much going off of looking at games played statistics, and if I filter by Mulch Muncher, there's nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was seeing Mulch Muncher before the patch, so that's why I'm like, now it's just cheaper. Doesn't that just make it better?
Well, one thing it did do, though, it actually was a nerf to Mage Sea Giants. Because now that it costs 9, you don't conjure as calling Sea Giants into Mulch Munchers, which are 8/8s with Rush.
Right.
So it took that out of the pool. So yeah, I mean, it did affect stuff by making it 9.
Yeah, but not that much stuff.
No, not that much stuff.
It's not like upsetting the Druid apple cart.
No.
Yeah.
No. As for Hunter, as kind of expected, mech hunters are playing Snip Snap, and it's working. I played a couple games with Mech Hunter today. Really like Snip Snap in this because, hey, did you guys ever find yourself with a board full of bombs and you're like, this is good, but it could be better? Late game Echo on Snip Snap when you just have a bunch of bombs and nothing else on your board, it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's real good. I'm wondering though how much the Necromancer is going to come into play, because I still haven't really seen people putting that in yet, and it seems like that should just be in there now, right? Because having like the bombs go off twice,
that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, having like spider bombs going off twice, killing 2 things, that seems really good in a meta where mage is out there, right?
Well, it's not.
I guess there's not a lot of death rattles outside of that, but I mean, there's replicating menace is probably enough. Ursatron going off twice, like any of this stuff, it seems like it should get a slot, but I don't know. I haven't really seen people do it yet.
It doesn't seem to be very popular in the kind of specifically Mech Hunter deck. It is getting slotted into this like Death Rattle Mech Hunter decks.
Yeah, there's like a pure Death Rattle Hunter that's running.
Yeah, it's running like Oblivitron.
All that stuff.
Yeah, Mechanical Webs actually found a place for Oblivitron. Like that's running Necromechanic.
Okay. They have Fireworks Tech too, which I think is a really cool card.
Yeah, and it's a popular deck, so there's actually a lot of games logged if you're looking at your stats websites, and it's doing well. It has a good win rate.
Okay. So it's just not in the super aggressive version.
Right. The thing is, though, like, this is Hunter, man. Like, they're just good. They have so many good archetypes right now, and all of them are working.
Yeah, you can do Secret Hunter. You can still do mid-range Beast Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever, and they're all going to get you to somewhere in that range of like 55-ish%, which is solid.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still playing Secret Hunter. It's doing fine. And apparently I'm not alone, because on HS3 Play, it's the most
popular version of Hunter still.
The most games played, yeah. So as for Flark's Boomsuka, I haven't seen anything, and I couldn't find anything when I went digging, which doesn't really surprise me.
okay.
You said you were
was
gonna get
before
weird.
my time, apparently. But I couldn't help myself. Like once I remembered about Flark's Boomzooka, I went and I made a Flark's Boomzooka deck. I'm gonna revisit it on stream at some point. And I was winning some games with it. Basically the idea was that I would Flark's Boomzooka and then what is it? Revenge of the Wild is 2 mana and it brings back all the beasts that died this turn. And then what I would do is I would try to get a Tundra Rhino and then put what is it called? The Dire Frenzy on it, right? So then you'd have more Tundra Rhinos that are buffed. And then I would play the Boomzooka. All of them would come out. They would attack things. And then I would Revenge of the Wild. Then they'd come back again. But now they all have charge and go face. Yeah. Yeah. And I
How did that work out for you?
Well, I won a lot of games, but not with the Boomzooka. The Boomzooka like never mattered. I won a lot of games just by like playing 100 cards.
Well, it will get asked for, Dills. So you need to link the deck
Yeah,
in the show notes. I know folks are going to be asking for it. No matter what the case is. Apparently, Dills, when you describe a deck, it just sounds fun, even when you describe losing horribly.
I mean, it was fun, and I can't remember my exact stats. Let me see if I can look them up. But I was not. It wasn't terrible. Like it was actually kind of working. It was just not. It wasn't like working as well as if I'd just been playing Mech Hunter. You know what I mean? Oh, my last version of it, because I went through a bunch of different versions. Went 4-1 before I called it quits on the deck. So there you go. 80% win rate.
Okay, Dills, I see you.
Now people are definitely going to want it. Now you've said 80% win rate.
Oh, yeah.
Even if only 5 games doesn't matter. 80% win rate.
Don't look at games played. 80% win rate, Flark's Boomzooka deck.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, why don't you make YouTube videos? Like I could just see you like your face being like, and like big freaking caption, 80% win rate, Flark's Boomzooka.
I know, yeah,
and
all the clickbait.
Yeah, and then the very beginning, like the first 3 seconds, you just go 5 games played. Okay, let's get started and talk about this deck.
I think Garrett just said you have clickbait face, by the way.
You do. You have resting clickbait face, Dills. Resting clickbait face.
Now that it's cost 7, I mean, dude, you could like track, get the Boomzooka, do the combo, Revenge of the Wild, all in one turn. Look at how much that 1 mana made a difference. You can do this on turn 9 now. Wow.
Bless you, Dills. Bless you.
All right, I'm throwing the link in the show notes.
All right, I'm moving on. I'm moving on to Mage. Hunter's pretty self-explanatory. Mech Hunter definitely felt these buffs. Death Rattled Mech as well. Everything else, Hunter is still very good and has a lot of different ways to play. So go do your thing. Let's take a look at Mage. If you don't remember, the buffs were to Unexpected Results and Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Luna's Pocket Galaxy picking up one of the larger mana reductions in these buffs. And
yeah, I feel like that 2 mana change was quite an impactful one. It made it a possible inclusion where before it was just like, no, too expensive, won't work, has to be a very specific deck. And now it's like, I have this deck that's already doing a thing, and it would be super cool if then that thing I'm trying to do just cost 1. So can I find a slot? Yeah, maybe.
So I'm seeing people play, like there's a version out there that's got Geppetto Joybuzz and the Pocket Galaxy, and it's got like Caligos and all this stuff. Because basically, like even if you Geppetto Joybuzz out like one of these minions and then you Conjures calling them, I believe they come back as their original cost minions. So even if they like ended up costing 1, they then become their original version when you conjure and call them. So, I mean, I guess that's really the reason why this makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And also, if, do you have the ability to play a 5 mana Luna's Pocket Galaxy where 7 mana just meant, first of all, I had to wait too long. I probably drew the cards I wanted. And now I have to spend an entire turn 7 on this? Like, no, that's ridiculous. But now maybe you can like do it on turn 5 if you're not super far behind, not be super dead, and then you have things like Frost Nova and Blizzard and stuff. You can slow the game down at that point, and then really insanely powerful turns. So yeah, seems like a thing.
Yeah, yeah, being played in Cyclone Mage as well, in addition to this kind of freeze mage that you were talking about with like the Geppetto, Joybuzz, Caligo stuff.
I wonder if it'll stick though. Like that to me, it's like, okay, yeah, everyone's trying it out. Are we gonna end up, going, yeah, this is actually the better version of it, or are we gonna go back and say, no, it's just better to just do the thing we were doing before?
Yeah, that's the thing. When it's kind of the unique thing with these buffs, right? Like it's easy with Snip Snap. It's easy to look in Snip Snap and be like, yes, this card 100% is upping your chances of winning the game. But something like Luna's Pocket Galaxy, it's just like, well, if we're including this in an archetype that was already working before the buff, is the deck just good and Luna's Pocket Galaxy is fine because the deck is good, or is it really like a star inclusion?
Yeah, does it make the deck go, or is it just like, yeah, you can play it? Because that's when I talk about this Boomzooka deck and the fact that I was winning games. It wasn't like I was winning games because of Boomzooka. I was winning games because of the 29 other Hunter cards that were in the deck that were actually all pretty good. And it's like, oh, I can win despite having this card in there. And that's where I'm wondering about Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Is it going to go down that road where it's just, no, the rest of the deck is carrying this card? Or is this card actually making the archetype happen?
Yeah, well, again, if you're looking at stats, it does have a positive played win rate, actually a pretty decent one in both of these archetypes.
If you play it, you probably win because that means you had a chance to play it.
Right, exactly. But it's again, we can go around in circles for a while here, kind of having that discussion, but time will tell.
You have to wonder, like, how many times did you lose because you had it in your hand and couldn't ever play it and it was just a dead card, right? That's where it's hard to tell because that's not very quantifiable. That's really hard to find information on that.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like your drawn win rate compared to your played win rate though, right? So if you draw it and it's got a lower win rate than what you would expect the deck, but then you play it, it's got higher, then doesn't that kind of mean that when you draw it, if it sits in your hand, then you're gonna lose? And that happens more often than like when you play it, then you have an 53% win rate. Like that's kind of the comparison that you draw there, right? Like those are the stats you use to figure that out.
But let's say if we were going to take that example and we'd say, oh, well, that means Blizzard is a bad card because when I play it, my played win rate is like in the 49% and drawn is in the 56%. But it's just because when I play Blizzard, that means that my opponent had a board.
Right.
Oh,
and
totally.
I had to deal with it. It's like these like differences are hard to just say like, oh, this 100% always means this. It's like you have to look at it in like real world scenarios. So it's very difficult. This is one of the things Firebat talks about a lot is HS Replay gives us all this information, but it doesn't really explain it to us, right? And it
doesn't do the thinking for you. It just
so it's not necessarily like giving an advantage to everybody that pros once got because they just like took notes and kept stats. They are still able to think about things logically and break them down properly and understand why a card is good or bad or whatever. So
and that's
still going to take a lot of analytical thinking,
right? I mean, and that's true of anything you're looking at stats for. I mean, we have this discussion on Into the Nexus all the time too when we're looking at hero stats. It's just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of statistics here for you to go look at, and they can be very helpful if you can read into them. I mean, if you're just looking at something like HS Replay, really, if you're coming to it blind and you don't know how to interpret these stats, really the only thing that's really going to help you is just overall win rates and maybe helping you figure out what you should keep in your mulligan. Anything beyond that point
stuff is that's like the most basic, like everyone should just start there because that is very helpful, right? It's especially when you can filter like by class you're playing against and are you going first or second. That kind of stuff really helps you break down like, okay, in these scenarios this card is a good keep.
Yeah, and if you can cross-reference it with a guide, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
I do find it very interesting in this deck specifically that it says that like Luna's Pocket Galaxy is kept 10% more of the time than like Sandbinder. Like there's all these other cards that like Luna's Pocket Galaxy's kept in the mulligan 65% of the time.
Yeah, this is a lot like yeah, but it's also low games played. At a certain point, and it's something that who knows how. I'm sure somebody out there is keeping it just because, oh, this is the new buff card. I want to make sure I keep it so I know how it plays in this deck. Like that's probably a factor. Shouldn't be if you're trying to win, but I'm sure it's still playing some sort of role. Plus, yeah, the mage is not the cyclone mage not like breaking the games played right now if we're sorting by patch date.
Yeah.
So it's another thing to keep in mind. All these things you need to keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at stats. So let's talk about Paladin, which we've mentioned a decent amount. This is what I've played the most of since the patch went live, because I have been abstaining from my favorite class in Hearthstone for a little while now, but I couldn't help myself now. I had to go try Mech Pally after the Christology change and freaking Snip Snap. I knew it was going to find a place in Mech. So yeah, it turns out it's good. Christology feels, if anything in this buff, in this lineup of buffs feels a little strong, to me it's Christology.
Well, yeah, because if you think about what it does in this Mech Paladin deck, it pulls out Glotrons, Skater Bots, but most importantly, it pulls out Galvanizer. And Galvanizer is the thing that makes this friggin' deck go, right? So you can Christology out your Galvanizers. There's also Bronze Gatekeeper, I think, is the last one.
Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah,
It's got one attack.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are all magnetic cards that do stuff, or Galvanizer, which makes all your magnetic stuff cheaper. So, yeah, like if you Galvanize on 2 with this deck, then on 4 you're dropping Coppertail Imposter or Noyo Module or something like that. And then on 5 you're like war gearing them or dropping a Mechano Egg to then buff later. Like, it's just crazy how fast you build up. And I found this deck, one of the most impressive things about it is the burst potential of this deck is insane. You get anything to stick, and all of a sudden you got to start adding up your damage. Because
there's so much magnetic. Like this is what I thought magnetic was going to feel like when they when they showed it in Boomsday almost a year ago now. I was just like, oh, cool. So we're going to kind of build up our board, and then we're going to magnetic multiple minions and send it. And it didn't really happen. Like magnetic, it's been here, but not like this. This has game winning potential in all of the magnetic minions that we find ourselves with in this deck.
Yeah, I think we're going to start having to see a lot more single target removal come back into the game.
I was going to say potentially silence, because there's like nobody running any silence right now.
No, it's like not anywhere at all. Like not even. The only class that was running silence was the Nomi priests, right? And they were running just the and they were mostly playing it because it was like
silence. Yeah,
I can draw for 0 mana.
Yeah.
Nowadays, yeah, I think we're gonna have to see something. I don't know if it's gonna be Spellbreakers or if people are gonna start running the owls, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's day one. We only have so much stats to look at. I only have so many of my own games played to look at, but I did go up against a priest that was running silence, and it still felt like no contest. I rolled over that priest.
Well, even if they silence your mech, you can just start magnetizing again.
That's exactly what I did.
Still, you can never remove the actual tribe, right?
Yeah.
So,
like, let's build on this one more time.
Yep. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it was it was the bomb duder. Was it the bomb? I don't remember now. No, because they don't run the bomb duder. Whatever the case was, I was like, oh yeah, well I've got a war gear, so sorry, it's big again. Deal with it.
Yeah, I actually had somebody kill my Mechano Egg before I had buffed it, and then left the 8/8 around because they were so scared of me like magnetizing to the
egg.
Mechano Egg, yeah. And I was like, well, now I'm just gonna magnetize to the 8/8. Like I was like, this doesn't stop me from doing anything.
Oh yeah, that is so like if this isn't Death Rattle Hunter. There's not like a that existential dilemma of break the egg or don't break the egg.
Like kill the egg because the death rattle's there. Yeah. No, it's like just leave the egg alone.
The 8/8 on board is infinitely worse than the egg on board.
Yeah. I think people just are not sure how to play against this deck yet because it hasn't really been a real thing. Like you kind of understand now what you're supposed to do against mage or warrior or rogue. Nobody really knows what to do against this yet, so it's a good time to like strike while the iron's hot, you know?
Yeah. We also didn't even. Sorry, I kind of glossed over Glowstone Technician, but it's also in this deck. That was the other card that was buffed for Paladin and has been thrown in this deck. And at first, I was still like, it still seems kind of slow, but it's. I find places for it because of how big your minions get, it's not uncommon in the few games I played to feel safe enough to just be like, sure, I'll play a glowstone tech. I've got enough power on board already.
Well, you've got the comeback potential with this deck because what you do is like you Crystology out a Skater Bot or a Glowtron or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And then you Glowstone Technician those, and then now suddenly those are like legit magnetics for 1 mana, right? And Skater Bot giving the mech rush means I can play something, buff it +3/+3 for 1 mana, and then kill one of your things, and my thing is still there, and it's going to get magnetized again next turn. It's like that, just how much that potentially gives you that kind of board flipping mechanic, right? Like, which is so crucial to winning games. It's definitely worth a spot in this deck. So I've also been able to like Glowstone Technician my other Glowstone Technician. So then when I play that one, it's, a 5/6.
5/6, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, this is good. This just seems really good.
You know what else is really good? A 3-mana Tyrion, which is exactly what I played today thanks to Prismatic Lens.
Whoa. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Prismatic Lens is really interesting, huh?
It's really good because like it works say you've actually drawn really well and you got all your low drop stuff just out of your system, like out of your deck. Like at worst it's drawing a minion and a spell, like and if it swaps around some higher end mana costs, it's whatever, cool, I still drew.
Yeah, it just kind of gives you that gas going into late game if your early stuff is taken care of.
Yeah, it's solid. This deck feels really good. And I completely forgot it, but we haven't even mentioned Kangor's Endless Army, but that's like a backbreaking end to this. And you're talking about why buffing Skaterbot with your Glowstone tech is obviously good, but it's really good because Kangor's Endless Army. About the only way Kangor's Endless Army is kind of disappointing is when it brings back a normal ass Skaterbot. Right, but like you're leading with a buff Skaterbot, and then you start magnetizing it, and because it actually survives to get magnetized, suddenly you're bringing back buffed up Skaterbots because they stuck around to get magnetized.
I also like this deck a lot because I think there's a lot of skill to this deck. Like, when do I magnetize? When do I play it as its own minion? Right, and there's actually definitely times not to magnetize, because you could just go in there and just be like, oh, I just keep making this one dude as big as possible. But that's not always correct, right? Because sometimes you need to spread out a little bit so that you have more attacks. Like, let's say you're playing against a token deck or something. You're going to need multiple attacks to be able to clear multiple minions. So there's a lot to think about. It kind of reminds me of like Zoo back in the day, where you had to think about minion positioning a lot. And, you don't really do that in modern Zoo very much, because it's just kind of, no, I just generate a bunch of stuff and make lackeys and things like that and play Sea Giants. But you used to have to like carefully place your minions properly so you could play Dire Wolves and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that and Token Shaman.
Yeah,
we're very positioning heavy. Yeah. And you're not wrong at all. It's
So yeah, I'm interested to see if this deck actually becomes like, do people play it in Grandmaster? Is it actually that good, or is it just like a good ladder deck? I'm not sure yet. Feels real good though.
It's the Secret Hunter question. Is it just good for ladder, or? Yeah, I like this deck. I'm switching over to it. Also, Crystology is finding its way in Holy Wrath decks. So, yep, just good.
I mean, it was already in them, but now it's cheaper. Yeah, this is better in them now.
I know it's like day 1.5, but does this Crystology change stick? Is this gonna stick? It already feels like this is already maybe.
It's fine. I don't think that these decks are like game-breakingly OP. So I think it's okay to have a really good draw engine in them. I think it'll stick. My prediction is it'll stick.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer Crystology and its style with basic, like the cap on the draw and the conditions on the draw, as opposed to like Divine Favor, right? That was the big problem with aggro stuff. And this is somewhere around aggro to mid-rangey type style. And Crystology is like, it fits without giving them too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as moving on to Priest, Extra Arms got buffed. It's only 2 mana now. And confirmed, yes, the extra copy you get is also 2 mana. and cloning device, but I haven't. I saw like one priest, and
It does nothing. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I do think extra arms is now just a card you can put into priest, but priest is still not really. They don't have like a good shell outside of that, right? Like they got all these like silency cards, and that didn't really work. They don't have.
It's been
all, all the
while.
res stuff they used to, so that deck doesn't really work. The Nomi thing was fun for a while, but I don't really think it's a real thing, especially if Bomb Warrior's out there. You just can't Nomi Priest against Bomb Warrior. You run out of cards, and then they just put bombs in there.
Yeah,
you die.
Bomb Warriors has a lot of games played since the patch.
Yeah.
Control Warrior seems to be falling off.
So yeah, Priest is in a rough spot right now, but I don't know. Extra arms is good. It is good.
Yeah.
It's not enough to carry Priest. It's not like what Crystology did to Paladin.
Have you tried like a Divine Spirit Priest in a while? Because I feel like extra arms would find its way in there. You just want buffs.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It already was in there, the 3-mana version of it. So yeah.
Yeah, this is the one the one class today where I'm looking at. I'm like, extra arms buff is just good. It's just a good card now. That's just a good buff card. But
the class isn't good because of it, right?
Right, exactly. Isn't the kind of thing that I think is going to dictate a new archetype to come out of the priest class. But it's just not what priests are doing right now. So,
by the way, did you notice that there's a featured cards in the collection manager? I was just looking through the collection manager to find that Boomzooka deck.
Wait, what? No.
There's standard cards, all cards, featured cards.
What are featured cards?
It's featuring all the buffs. Right now, it's featuring all the cards that got buffed.
Oh, that had to be new for this, right?
Yeah.
That had to be new.
It's a new button in your collection manager.
Okay.
Or a new sort.
I like that.
Interesting.
Anyways, let's talk about Rogue. Rogue got some buffs after a lot of nerfs, so maybe don't expect to just be tearing up the win rates with Rogue. But Pogo Hopper went down to 1 mana, and Violet Haze went down to 2 mana. I want to preface this with Pogo Hopper is not winning.
No,
but if games played on fan sites or anything to go by, y'all cannot help yourself but play Pogo Hopper decks.
Everybody wanted Pogo Hopper to work so bad.
Yes, I want Pogo Hopper to work. And I've seen like screenshots on Twitter of people being like, oh, this is so broken. Look at my like 15, 13 Pogo Hoppers. This is gross and I hate it and boo. But it's not winning, guys. No. It's not doing well. I wish it was, but it's not doing well.
No. It's bad. It's a bad version of the deck. The best version of the deck right now is the Water Rogue, I think, which is the one that plays the Shark and the Sea Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And then also wins through High Spear and Togwaggle and just lots of lackeys.
But it is fun as all get out. It is absurd.
The problem with Pogo Hopper was never that it cost 2 mana.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Everyone looks like, oh my god, it's 1 mana cheaper. It's like, it was never a problem playing the Pogo Hoppers. It wasn't like, oh, I just don't have enough mana to play all these Pogo Hoppers. You know, the problem was I got to put them in my deck and draw them again and then play them. It's just no. Sorry.
I want it to work. I want it to work so bad though. I want people to keep playing this and keep trying and there's got to be a really good workable deck in there. There has to be. I believe in the Pogo Hopper.
No, there doesn't have to be.
I don't think it's gonna work. Like, it's fun. It's this is the kind of absurd things I like to build decks around in Hearthstone. Sure. Like, this exactly, I see a card like this and I know exactly what I want to try and make happen with it. I like that aspect of Hearthstone, but there's quite a few games that are logged at this point, and I went up against a couple, and at first they got a good start. They got a really good start. They had like all their Shadow Steps, all their Pogo Hoppers, and I was like, oh man, I may have misjudged this. And I'm like, oh wait, no, I can just play my deck, which I think I was playing Mech Paladin, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is just way faster and just kills them before they ever land a hit with, or no, sorry, I was doing, I remember now, I was doing Hunter because I had the Poisonous and I had the Mech Spiders that destroy. That's how I just kept the Pogo Hoppers off the board while still magnetizing and just burning them down with hero
Doing your
power.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It ended up not even being close. And they had a really good start. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
wouldn't.
feel like probably their like 35 to 40% win rate is probably times in the mirror match. And they win against other Pogo.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen. You are going to lose to this deck, and you are going to remember when you lose to this deck. It is going to sear itself into whatever part of your brain is dedicated to Hearthstone memories. And I imagine if you're listening to this show, it's a pretty large portion of your brain, and you're going to hate this deck. But
you're going to be like, oh man, that was so good. Holy crap. Did you see what they just did to me? And then you're going to try to do it. And you're going to be like, oh, this is so bad. What am I doing?
Exactly. What I want you to take stock of is what were you missing? Like what did you not have in your hand that allowed you to, that meant you couldn't deal with the Pogo Hoppers? Because it across enough games, that shouldn't happen. Most decks have ways to deal with Pogo Hoppers right now, and you should be okay. But eventually you're going to lose one of these, and it's going to sting, because my goodness, there's nothing like a 40 plus attack mechanical bunny on a pogo stick going face to really create a strong opinion.
That card's so great.
It is. It's good. It's good, but the deck is not.
Yeah.
If you're trying to win.
Yeah, it just takes too long to get there.
Yeah. As for Shaman, the Stormbringer is down to 6 mana. Thunderhead is a 3/6 up from a 3/5, and both these things are working out. Thunderhead was already seeing play. It was in some control shamans, as well as a variant of Murloc that I know, Dills, you've multiple times mentioned on the show is your preferred way to play Murloc Shaman. And, getting one more health just means it's just better than it was before. And I have seen plenty of Thunderheads today already as a result of this buff. But surprising to me is that Stormbringer there's that control-oriented Murloc Shaman. There's another variant of that now that's including Stormbringer. And this kind of gets into, I think, what you talked about earlier, Dills, which is assessing these kind of strange inclusions that when you look at statistics may have a low played win rate, but you got to think about it in that you're probably playing this when you don't have a lot of other options. And it's a bit of a Hail Mary to see if you can just win a game that you otherwise probably would have lost.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because basically what you can do now with Shaman is, like, these buffs support each other, right? I think this is one of the reasons why these buffs are going to work out is when you buff Thunderhead, it makes Stormbringer already better, right? Because it's a token generation. And then you also then buff Stormbringer, so you're just like, hey, look, like now they're both sweet because they just got slightly better, and they were actually both like maybe kind of okay already. And you've got things Kagadar and Chad just said. Soul of the Murloc, right? Because Soul of the Murloc just means your board will just stick around, right? So it's almost like you can run like Bloodlust and Stormbringer, and then like the Stormbringer is like a Bloodlust you can use when you don't just have lethal. Like you can just use it, So yeah, it's like the deck just feels like, and I like it because I think Shaman was close but not quite there before. The Murlocs obviously were pretty good. But I think this brings a new archetype just into the mix, right? And I think that's what we want. We just want more decks out there. So it's sweet. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to play some Shaman.
I mean, if these stick around, and especially kind of the control variants kind of shore up their win rate, like Shaman's second to what, Hunter, as far as viable archetypes that will most likely net you a ladder climb.
Did you see they're calling it Control Shaman? It's Doomhammer Smash Your Face Shaman. But I played against this deck a bit too, and it's scary because you get that Spirit of the Frog out, and then you just start spamming spells because you don't care, right? You're just like, I don't know, just play them all, because every time I play one, I get another one. And then with Rogue being a lot less, with especially with the raiding party and the waggle picks not being as prevalent, a lot of people aren't running the Oozes and the Harrisons anymore. So suddenly a Doomhammer actually seems like a card you can play. and you can smash people in the face with it. So pretty interesting.
I'm glad you found that. I hadn't seen this particular variant, and I miss my Doomhammer.
There's actually I'm looking at a different one where Doomhammer is literally the top of the curve. There's nothing past. There's no
Wow.
Hagatha.
Stormbringer, Hagatha, Toads, yeah.
I thought you found it because
just
we were talking about
stops at
Stormbringer. That's great. I'm gonna have to try that. For that
it's
link in the
pretty
show notes. Yeah. But yeah.
You can play that. You can play Shudderwalk. You can do Murlocs. You can do whatever. It's like lots of different things to do with Murloc or with Shaman.
Yeah. Oh, I found it here. Yeah. I've got it up right now.
Yep. There you go. That's
top side of Doomhammer. It's got Zentimo in there, which apparently I still need to go craft myself a Zentimo.
I mean, you could probably get away without that, but Zentimo is pretty good for Zentimo plus, Hex or Zentimo plus Zap or things like that,
Yeah. Oh, multi-hex. It's great. Sign me up for that. But yeah.
I got wrecked by that when I was playing the Mech Paladin. I was like destroying this Shaman, and then all of a sudden Zentimo plus Hex, and all my built-up magnetized dudes were all frogs now.
And then they won't come back with Kangor's Endless Army, right?
No, yeah.
That just totally destroys your entire game plan.
Everything that I had done, all that work.
Maybe that's the answer. We were talking about silence, but maybe it's not silence. Maybe it is Zentimo Hex.
Doing Hex. Yeah, mages might start running like polymorphs and stuff.
Polymorphs, yeah.
If the stuff gets really out of control.
Yeah. Well, as for Warlock and Warrior, I really haven't seen much with the cards that were buffed for them. Spirit Bomb, haven't seen it. Dr. Morgan, same for Warlock.
Well, because Warlock, it doesn't play Control Warlock anyway, right? Everyone's just playing Zoo. So Spirit Bomb does not go in there. And
Warrior was already good. And
Warrior was fine.
Yeah, they didn't create anything new, right?
No. So it actually, like, it is true. It buffed Dr. Boom, but it didn't make those cards good enough to just go into the deck, right? So they don't show up very often, but they, when they do show up, you're like, damn, that's really good.
Yeah.
But Warrior was already fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, it really does feel like Bomb Warrior has come out on top in terms of popularity. That's how I was feeling when I was playing and just seeing Bomb Warriors, and then when I was checking out fan sites, games played numbers. I mean, Bomb Warrior is majorly more popular than Control.
Yeah, it's probably the best deck right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good, very, very good. So,
although I think still the most popular deck is Secret Hunter, right?
Yeah. Last I checked, if I was, again, this is, it's just replay, but they're usually it seems like what we hear from the team, a pretty accurate representation of where the meta is at. So
here's the thing though. I think that Bomb Warrior would be more popular than Secret Hunter if it didn't have like 4 or 5 legendaries in it. Like, it's like I have all the cards. I also have to remember that not everybody does. And some people are like, yeah, I want to craft Bomb Warrior. I can't because I don't have like Dr. Boom and the other Dr. Boom. And
oh, yeah. No, I mean, I'm logged in my account right now, Nature Superplay. You can see how many cards I'm freaking missing.
Sure.
Yeah. Elysiana is another one.
I mean, I'm missing Elysiana because I dusted her because I just figured like if I need her again, whatever, I'll just make her again. But for now, while I can get the refund, I'll get the dust. But yeah, I don't have either of the Dr. Booms, and I also don't have a Mega Devastator or Wrench Caliber, and those are epics.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't consider myself a budget player. I would consider myself a player with a Hearthstone budget. It's still a pretty high budget. And even I am like looking at Warrior like, well, it's historically been probably my least favorite class to play for whatever reason. It's just never really it's never been something where I'm like I have to play this.
Gelled with you.
Yeah, and more often than not, it's the archetype that makes me the angriest to play against. And for some reason, I've always had a reaction where I don't want to go play those things. Maybe the one exception being Secret Paladin way back when I played against it drove me nuts, but I was more than happy to take it on ladder myself.
Yeah. I personally haven't found playing Bomb Warrior or Control Warrior very fun at all. And to be honest, playing against them is not very fun at all either. So it's like the deck to me that's like, if this went away, I'd be okay with it.
They need to make like a, I don't know, bomb sniffing dog or something that like you can put in your deck and then you play it and it like removes 2 bombs or 1 bomb or something from your deck.
Can it be a bomb sniffing amalgam so that I at least maybe have hope for tribe synergy in other decks?
Sure.
It'd be really gross for mech decks, actually. But I'm thinking back to the days of Crab, and I was like happy to run it in Hunter because it still had beast energy.
It was still a beast, yeah.
And I didn't feel too punished for including it in that particular class. But
there has been some really interesting gameplay around the bombs in some of the Grandmaster games I've watched, where people like forcibly burn cards in their deck because they know there's like 8 bombs in there, so they keep their hand foot at 10.
Yeah, because if your hand is full and you draw a bomb, it doesn't go off.
It doesn't go off. Yeah.
Yep.
So it does create some like interesting gameplay mechanics, but like when it first was introduced to us and I looked at these cards, I thought, oh, that's kind of fun. And now in reality, it's like, it's not really that fun.
It's fun. I find the deck fun to play, but I don't find it fun to play against. So yeah, but I like putting bombs at people's decks and having them explode. And I'm like, haha.
Yeah. I know that like it's created these situations.
Too good.
Yeah. It's created these situations in Grandmaster where that's admirable, is like, oh, but maybe he draws 3 bombs in a row and he gets like really excited. I'm like, no one else is that excited about this.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and I think I said this when we first started talking about Grandmasters after the first week when Warrior was just all over the place, and it kind of did suck to watch and be like, okay, well, if the deck is shuffled in this certain way, then this person's going to win or this person's going to lose. And like that just never feels all that great. Like it's fun when they explode every once in a while on ladder, but I hate that it's good enough to be a competitive, not even just a competitive deck, but like the competitive deck.
Yeah, it's basically, and the thing that's annoying about it too is I kind of envisioned the Bomb Warrior thing being like a tempo deck, but basically they just put the bomb cards in the control shell.
Yeah.
And then they're just a control deck with some bombs.
Yeah.
And you're like, ugh, I can never kill you, and eventually I will draw these bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe it's just Dr. Boom though. If you just got rid of Dr. Boom, I wonder if the deck would feel this annoying to play against.
That's a good point, because this is also the same episode where I said, please delete Brawl from the game. So, you know, like
Yeah.
I just,
Is it the bombs or is it the other stuff? Is
Yeah.
like, that's the question,
I think the annoyance of Dr. Boom is maybe magnifying or amplifying my exhaustion with.
Well, we should say Boom the hero.
Yes.
Yes.
Not the Boom that
Booms
summons.
now.
Sorry. Yeah, I have to specify. Dr. Boom, Mad Genius.
Yes.
Is probably amplifying my exhaustion with cards like Brawl and Shield Slam, these control tools that I have been playing around since the beta.
Yeah. But Blastmaster Boom is kind of sweet. It's just when Blastmaster Boom summons 6 boom bots and then they all have rush because of the Mad Genius, you're like, come on, man.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
like a little too much.
Yeah. Endless rushing mechs is stupid.
Yeah. So that I was playing against a warrior the other day, and I was playing around Brawl the whole time. They never brawled me once, or no, I was trying to bait the Brawl. They never brawled me once, and they still killed all my stuff because all their mechs were removal. You know what I mean? They just killed all my stuff without ever brawling me or without ever warpathing me. They killed like multiple boards, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, oh yeah, because all your mechs are removal.
Yeah.
And double removal too. Like Dynomatic comes out, deals 5 damage, then a 3/4 gets to like pick off whatever's left, you know?
And probably still stick.
Yeah. It's pretty gross.
Yep.
It's pretty gross.
Yep. So when I was asking earlier if we think we're going to make it to the next expansion without some adjustments, I don't know what I was thinking.
I would really like to see, because I mean, again, with the whole Frozen Throne and all the hero cards, the Death Knights and stuff, at the time, Dr. Boom Mad Genius felt okay. But now with all that stuff gone from standard, he feels way, way, way overpowered. So I'd like
it feels like he wins the game when you play him, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you get especially if you get him on 7, like,
yeah, because then you get the next 20 turns with that.
Yeah.
Bane hero power plus rushing mix.
Yeah.
I will say this though, it's okay. Like I said earlier in the show, it's okay for things to be powerful, but what you don't want is you don't want things to be preventing other things from existing, right? And I think that's what the Control Warrior and the Bomb Warrior are doing, is they're making it so that you can't play some archetypes that could be really fun. You just can't mess with them because you're going to lose against every warrior you play against, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why like Mage is played a lot, because it can beat the warriors. So it's just defining the meta in a way I think Rogue was before. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another small adjustment.
I feel like even if it was just like the first mech you play each turn has rush or something like that, something to limit it just a little bit to bring it back in line. Like still keep the flavor, the soul of the card, but just power level down a little.
Bro's gone. Tear their souls out like Shang Tsung. We can rip the souls straight out of cards at this point. It's fine. It's fine. That's why we're seeing buffs. It's because Frode and Young Lu are gone. I tease. Anyways, that's gonna do it for the show. So anyways, we're at almost 2 hours now at the end of talking about how the buffs have kind of affected the game here in day one. Thanks again to our awesome patrons for supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. Go check it out. If you become a patron for TAC, you get access to things like the Angry Chicken Discord, which means if your Discord is linked to your Patreon account and you go and you sign up to be a Angry Chicken patron, you're just automatically added to that Discord. It's like magic. Suddenly you're in a Discord channel with a lot of Hearthstone nerds and us, who are also Hearthstone nerds. I didn't need to specify that. Anyways, go check it out. And you can go sign up for Taco, the Angriest Chicken Open. We're going to be doing it. It's not this weekend. It's the following weekend on Saturday the 15th. Signups are open for everyone, not just patrons. But there's a sign-up link over on patreon.com/TAC right now. Go check it out. Win yourself some card packs. Huge thanks to our producers, by the way. So Jacqueline H, Sean C, and Cheesy Bob, thank you so much for the support. We have t-shirts available over at shirts.amove.tv. So if you'd like to rock the Angry Chicken logo on your shirt or get jobs done in big Hearthstone looking lettering and rock it at BlizzCon, so that when I'm walking through with my my overpriced hot dog, I can go, dude, I designed that. Yeah. Woo. Do that. Go to shirts.amove.tv. Pick yourself up some tax swag. You can catch us live Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. And this show and others like it are over at amove.tv, the website. Go check it out. You can get the whole back catalog of Angry Chicken. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that.
Don't do that.
But you can, go listen to episode 1. Hear how weird things were in the beta of Hearthstone. So, anyways.
Please don't go that far back.
Please do. And tweet at TAC Podcast and at Joss Plays, specifically at Joss Plays, and let her know what you think of the first episode.
No.
Before we go, Dills, where can people find you?
Check me out on Twitter. I'm at Willie Dills, and twitch.tv/Willie Dills is where I'll be streaming some of these new fun decks this week. I'll definitely try the Pogo Rogue. Maybe I should bring that to the taco.
Yes. Yes. Do that.
All right. There you go. Then I'll have to learn it a little bit, which means I will. I'll play it right now while I'm at rank 5. How about that?
Watch it. Everybody who you play against, they're just going to never draw their answers, and you're just going to win the tournament.
Crush everyone with Pogos.
I'm saying one rule for you, though, is that your alternate decks, so your secondary and tertiary decks, they have to keep the Pogos. You're not allowed
I won't. Yeah.
any other kind of rogue. You
It
have to
would be
have
kind of
Pogos.
funny if they had to not have Pogo.
No. The Pogo will be
Pogos
part of all
must
of them.
stay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jocelyn, what about you? Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. Also, this week, I'm going to tell you guys all to go and check out. I know that you're, if you're listening to this, you're Hearthstone fans, but, Rocket League is actually really super easy to get into, and it's kind of self-explanatory. It's cars trying to play soccer. So this past weekend, I was working in Dallas, and I worked for the pro circuit. So it was really fun, really interesting, super intense games. So if you guys haven't checked it out, the VODs are on Twitch and also up on YouTube now. So I was in the credits. My name name was in the credits.
That's awesome.
Very
Congrats. That's
So yeah, go
dope.
check that out.
That's great. Folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can find me on there rambling about all sorts of nerdy things. I mentioned A-Move TV. Go check it out because there's a lot of other podcasts out there. If you like Heroes of the Storm, Into the Nexus is still going strong. Let's Talk About Star Wars is the Star Wars podcast that I do with Jenny Josephson and Tom Merritt. It's weekly now. We just put out a new episode, so you can go and get that. Plenty of other stuff. Go check it out. But until next week, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yeah.